made with spoken. 10-Step Impact Book Blueprint by Jessie Kwak. Digital narration performed by Jessie Kwak. You're writing a book? Maybe the idea has been nibbling around the edges of your mind for a few years now. Maybe every time you start telling stories, people tell you should write them down. Maybe you're looking for a way to leave a legacy, codify your coaching frameworks, and increase your impact. Whatever your reason, I'm betting this book idea is more than just a passion project for you, just something fun you've been meaning to try. Your book has a job to do. To grow your business, to increase your profile as a speaker, to get you more coaching and consulting clients, to increase your authority as you pivot into a new career path, to explain your philosophy to future generations, to leave behind your legacy. This book is important, which means it's worth investing your time and money into getting it right. You're ready to put in the work and resources required to take this project across the finish line. Writing a book can be fun, and I should know. I've written over a dozen sci-fi and thriller novels meant to take readers on a good time adventure. But books are also an incredible way to make an impact and to connect with and serve your audience. And writing a book that meaningful is hard. The nonfiction books I've ghostwritten for clients have gotten my authors speaking gigs. They've helped my authors land hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of clients for their consulting businesses. They've codified legacies and helped my authors change lives at scale. Don't get me wrong, a book isn't a magic ticket. It can't do any of this on its own. But when coupled with a stellar marketing strategy and an entrepreneurial mindset, a book can be a key element in helping you grow your business, connect with your audience, and spread your message to the world. That last part is important. Yes, you could dash off something fast. You could hit some buttons on ChatGPT and come up with a book-shaped object that would work as a lead magnet or business builder once you wrap it in a snazzy cover. You could even hire a hands-off ghostwriter who does a few minutes of light Googling and writes a white-label draft that more or less captures your vision. But I honestly believe that everyone has a unique and powerful message to share, and a book is an amazing way to communicate that with the world. Nail that message, and your book will act as a piece of you, flying out into the world with a job to do, and that job is to communicate your message in a way that forges a strong connection between you and the people you're here to serve. You have something to say. I can help you tell your story. In the pages that follow, I give you the exact blueprint I use to write my own books and books for my ghostwriting clients. The exact tools and steps I teach to my book coaching clients to help them go from the spark of an idea to finished product and make the maximum impact with their words. I created this guide because I believe writing a business book is more than just a marketing decision. It's a leadership move, one you can't afford to keep ignoring. If you're ready to write the book that only you can write, the one that builds your authority and serves your audience, this blueprint will show you exactly how to do it. Let's get going. About me. Hi, my name is Jessie Kwak. I'm a professional author, ghostwriter, and book coach who helps entrepreneurs, executives, and thought leaders turn their expertise into books that open doors, grow businesses, launch speaking careers, and build lasting impact. You can find out more about me at www.jessiekwak.com. Step 1. Clarify your book's ROI. Why are you writing this book? It might be a book of your heart. It might be a passion project. It might feel like a calling for you. Maybe you've always wanted to hold your own ideas in your hands and call yourself an author. But let's get one thing straight. This book is intended to grow your business and create lasting impact, both financial and personal. That doesn't mean this can't also be a book of the heart. It just means that the first thing we need to do is get clear on your ROI, because if you're going to invest the time, energy, and money it takes to do this the right way, let's write a book that won't just sit pretty on the shelf. This baby's got a job to do. Let me be real for a minute. Most nonfiction books sell a few hundred copies, maybe a few thousand if you're lucky or well-networked. Sure, some books go viral and earn big paychecks for their authors, but the vast majority don't. And yet, writing a book can be one of the most profitable and high-leverage things you ever do if you approach it strategically. So here's the million-dollar question. What do you want your book to do for you? Your book can land you high-paying speaking gigs, like it did for one of my clients who turned a self-published book into over 6 figures in paid speaking. It can help you pivot careers, like another client who used his book to move from a VP role into lucrative consulting contracts. It can be your way of passing your knowledge on to the next generation, like a client whose books fill such a need for his community that he's earned over $100,000 launching them on Kickstarter. And of course, it can help you connect deeply with readers in a way that spreads your message and amplifies your impact, which is a major goal for most of my clients. Each of these authors had a different business model. Each wrote a different kind of book and marketed it in the way that most effectively achieved their goals. So let's start there. Understand your goal. Here are a few types of ROIs your book might deliver. Business revenue, both direct sales of the book, retail, back-of-room sales at speaking gigs, bulk purchases, and other business revenue, consulting gigs, coaching clients, higher rates, new customers. Visibility, media coverage, podcast invitations, SEO goodness, and other publicity. Authority, establishing yourself as a thought leader in your space by becoming the person who wrote the book on the topic. Opportunity, speaking engagements, new business ventures, career pivots, partnerships. Legacy, capturing your frameworks, stories, or philosophies for future generations or your community. Remember, not all wins are financial. You may also have a goal of getting invited to an elite community or mastermind, gaining confidence as a thought leader, creating alignment in your business by codifying your ideas, attracting collaborators or hires, serving your audience by sharing your message. Tooltip, ROI worksheet. Check out the ROI worksheet at the end of this section for a fast way to calculate what this book could potentially be worth to you. Understand your sales funnel. Where does this book fit in your business strategy or sales funnel? For example, your book may lead to a free offer, which leads to an email list, which leads to a sales call, which leads to you booking a client. Or your book could lead to a website visit, which leads to a purchase of your course, which leads someone to join your membership site. Ask yourself, how will your readers discover your book? What steps will lead them to buy? And what steps will they ideally take once they've read it? Understand your audience. Who are you writing this book for? If you were launching a new product line, you'd put in the elbow grease ahead of time to find product market fit and ensure a successful launch. Definitely don't skip this step when writing a business book. Who are your ideal readers? What problem will this book solve for them? And how much are they willing to pay to have that problem solved? What difference are you hoping to make in their lives? How will they walk away changed by what they've read? Understand your competition. This is another way where writing a business book is like launching a product. If there's a ton of competition in the space already, that means there's probably a big readership, but it'll be tough to stand out. If no one is writing about your topic, on the other hand, you might be looking at too niche a market to get the ROI you want, or you might just be facing more of a marketing battle. Either way, it's important to know that ahead of time. Ask yourself, what other books exist in this space? What's the unique angle that will help your book stand out? Tooltip, Publisher Rocket. I highly recommend Publisher Rocket. It's a powerful tool to research nonfiction book niches, analyze the competition, and dive deep into how different categories are performing on Amazon. Plan your publishing strategy. Will you self-publish this book? Are you going to pitch it to a traditional publisher? Are you planning to give this book away as a lead magnet for your business or newsletter? Will you hire a vanity press to publish it? Any and all publishing options are fantastic, but each of them are best suited to a slightly different type of book, which is why it's important to decide on a publishing strategy before going in. For example, a traditional publisher will generally want a manuscript of about 70,000 words, with a good amount of research, stories, and other anecdotes. A self-published book can get away with being more punchy and to the point, since you don't have to worry about filling the word count. A free lead magnet should be short, sweet, and highly actionable. No need for fluff and filler. Readers will just want you to get to the point. Write your book ROI statement. Your book ROI statement is a simple paragraph or bullet list that clearly outlines what you want your book to accomplish for you. For example, I am writing this book to primary business goal. If successful, this book will also help me secondary financial or strategic goal. The ideal reader for this book is target audience, and the result they'll get from reading it is reader ROI. Once you've written this out, keep it somewhere visible. This statement becomes your North Star. When you're stuck in the middle of a messy draft, or unsure which example to include, or debating your publishing strategy, you'll come back to this. It's how you stay aligned with your bigger goals. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Author, Jordan Blake. Background, former VP of sales at a fast-growing SaaS company. Goal, pivot into B2B sales consulting and use the book to land clients, speaking gigs, and thought leadership opportunities. Working title, The Sales Signal System, How to Close Big Deals Without Wasting Time on the Wrong Prospects. Jordan starts by getting clear on why they're writing the book. Their book ROI statement might look like this. I am writing this book to establish credibility as I launch my consulting business. If successful, this book will help me land high-value consulting clients and speaking engagements. I'll use it as a lead magnet, client onboarding tool, and credibility builder. The ideal reader is a B2B sales leader at a scaling tech company, and they'll walk away with a proven system to improve their team's sales close rate and focus on qualified prospects. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Author Nia Harper. Background: founder and former CEO of Bold Nation Beauty, an inclusive cosmetics company that disrupted industry norms around age, gender, and race in beauty marketing. Goal: use her upcoming traditionally published book to launch a motivational speaking career focused on empowerment, entrepreneurship, and redefining success. Working title: Unfiltered, Lessons in Leadership, Liberation, and Loving the Skin You're In. Nia begins with a clear vision. Her book ROI statement looks like this. I am writing this book to establish myself as a thought leader and keynote speaker in the entrepreneurial and empowerment spaces. If successful, it will help me book paid speaking gigs, land media coverage, and attract brand partnerships aligned with my mission. My ideal reader is someone who's been told they don't belong, especially women and marginalized entrepreneurs. And this book is here to show them that their difference is their superpower. Tool: Book ROI Worksheet. Use this worksheet to clarify how your book will serve you and your business. Part 1. Your goals. Why are you writing this book? Check all that apply and elaborate below. Attract more clients. Generate more revenue. Land paid speaking gigs. Launch a new product or service. Transition to a new career. Increase media visibility. Establish thought leadership. Codify my ideas or frameworks. Leave a legacy, or something else. In your own words. I am writing this book to blank. If successful, it will help me blank. Part 2. Revenue potential. Estimate how your book might lead to income. Focus on indirect returns, like leads or gigs, not just book sales. For example, if you want your book to land you speaking gigs, calculate how much you expect to earn per gig. Do the same with coaching clients, course or product sales, and any other sales you hope to get from having a book available. Then, estimate the total potential ROI from your book in the first 12 to 24 months. Don't worry if this is a rough estimate, it's just a planning tool. Now think beyond the first 12 to 24 months to consider lifetime value, LTV, as well as launch ROI. What is the lifetime business value of one new client, speaking gig, or partnership? How might this book create compounding returns, e.g., credibility that leads to new partnerships or long-term contracts? Could this book become an evergreen asset that drives leads for 5+ years? If this book brings me just 2 ideal clients per year, what would that be worth over 5 years? Part 3. Target audience. Who is this book for? Describe your ideal reader. Include their role, coach, manager, entrepreneur, etc., their biggest pain points, and the outcome they're seeking. What result will your reader get from this book? After reading this book, my reader will be able to blank. Part 4. Success markers. What would success look like for you 12 months after publishing this book? Signed at least 1 new high-value client. Gave a keynote or workshop based on book content. Landed guest spots on a certain number of podcasts. Grew my list by a certain number of people. Earned at least X amount of dollars in direct-indirect revenue. Or something else. What intangible outcomes would feel like success to me? Step 2. Magpie mode. Collect everything you know. Now that you've clarified what you want your book to do for you, it's time to get everything out of your head and into one place. This is the gathering stage, the foundation of the entire writing process. When I'm writing fiction, I call this magpie mode. When you collect all the shiny, fascinating bits that interest you and pile them in one place to see if a story starts to form. With fiction, the point of magpie mode is to fiddle around with these shiny bits until they spark ideas and come up with unique connections, to noodle around on things that caught your attention until a more coherent narrative starts to arise. In her book, The Creative Habit, Learn It and Use It for Life, choreographer Twyla Tharp calls this scratching for ideas. For nonfiction, magpie mode tends to be less nebulous and more practical. Because here's the good news, you probably already have 80% of your book inside you. You've lived it, you've taught it, you've answered the same client questions over and over again. You've given talks, written blog posts, sent newsletters, and maybe even shared rants on social media. In this step, we're going to pull all of that together and see what you've got. We'll talk about how to do that in a second. But first, how clear is your idea? Most people fall into 2 categories at this stage. 1, you know exactly what you want to write about. Maybe it's your signature framework, your unique coaching method, a process you've taught for years. The book you're planning is crystal clear in your mind, and you know what you want to say. 2. You have a general idea, but not a specific angle yet. Maybe you want to write about leadership, but aren't sure whether it's about leading teams, leading change, or leading yourself. Maybe you've always bristled against some standard knowledge in your profession and want to write a book that pushes back, but you're not sure how. Either way is fine, but the way you're going to approach Magpie Mode will be quite different. I'll talk about that as we go along. Brainstorming sessions. No matter how in touch you feel with your idea, start by blocking off 2 solid chunks of time in your calendar for brainstorming sessions. One now, one next week. I recommend at least 2 hours for each. Session 1. This is your big brain dump. Pull up a blank document or grab a notebook and start writing down everything you know about your topic. Or, if your topic is still a little fuzzy, everything you're interested in. Mine your brain. If you're Team Clarity, start here. Sketch out the big picture. What's your main concept or structure? List the tools, techniques, or background knowledge you want to include in the book. Brainstorm client stories, case studies, and examples that bring your ideas to life. Think about misconceptions you want to clear up or objections you often hear. If you're still trying to get your book's topic to take shape, start here. List everything that interests you about the broader topic. Write down questions you're curious about and journal potential answers. Ask yourself what patterns you've noticed in your work or in conversations with colleagues and clients. Brainstorm stories, quotes, and observations. Reflect on your book ROI statement. What does your reader need, and how will your book help them get it? You don't have to have everything figured out at this stage. We're just pulling the raw material together so we can shape it later. Mine your content. Speaking of raw material, once you're done scraping everything you can think of out of your brain, turn your attention outward. If you've been working in this field for a while, you've probably created more relevant content than you realize. Things like blog posts, newsletters, or social media threads, recorded webinars, workshops, or talks, sales decks, onboarding docs, or internal memos, client emails, Slack threads, or proposals, journal entries, or private notes. For now, just make a list of all these potential resources. Over the next week or so, more things will pop into your memory that you can add to the list. Collaboration tip. If you're writing the book yourself, this is great reference material. If you're working with a ghostwriter or book coach, it will save time and make the process far more efficient. I absolutely love it when a client can hand me a link to a YouTube video or recorded speech they gave on a concept in their book. Those become the seeds of chapters and a starting place for the interviews I do with clients. Percolation break. Once you've done the first brain dump session, take a step back and let it all percolate. You may be tempted to force the process and skip ahead to the next step, but I guarantee you'll have a richer, more effective book if you allow yourself the breathing room to really clarify your idea and collect the relevant material before you start writing. If you've ever had a shower epiphany, you understand the power of letting your brain gnaw on a problem in the background of daily life. In The MacGyver Secret, connect to your inner MacGyver and solve anything. Lee D. Zlotoff, the creator of MacGyver, and Colleen Seifert, PhD, a cognitive scientist, dig into why our brains tend to make creative connections in the most mundane moments, and how to tap into that more systematically. Zlotoff writes that whenever he was stuck writing a MacGyver episode, he would start by brainstorming everything he knew about it, like I just recommended you do. But once he was done brainstorming, Zlotoff's step 2 is do literally anything other than think about the story. And it seriously works. While you go about your daily life in the week or so, after your initial brainstorming session, your brain will keep firing away in the background. You'll remember more things. You'll have conversations that spark ideas. You'll uncover old files. Capture ideas as they pop up, but don't try to force it. Just let your brain keep doing its thing. Tooltip: Notion. I adore Notion as a way to jot down thoughts quickly on the go. You can really customize it to keep your thoughts organized for multiple projects. But be warned that if your file structure gets to be too much, it gets less easy to use it as a quick note tool. Which is why I use this hack. Create a scratchpad note and favorite it so that it always pops up on top. Then just jot down everything there and move it to the correct note during regular admin cleanup sessions later. Session 2. In your second session, sit down and review everything that you collected in the first session and everything that's popped up since. Revisit the questions you asked yourself in the first session and do one final brainstorm to see what else you can shake loose. When you start to feel a sense of completeness about what you've gathered, it's time to move on to the next step. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan blocks off 2 sessions to brain dump everything they've taught their team over the past 10 years. They sketch out their signature sales signal system, which includes identifying ideal customer profiles, qualifying leads quickly, and closing with confidence. They also gather past slide decks, internal training materials, a LinkedIn post that went viral, and stories from successful deals. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Nia spends 2 sessions gathering the stories, hard-earned lessons, and mantras that carried her through the roller coaster of building Bold Nation Beauty. She pulls from old Instagram lives, keynote snippets, podcast interviews, internal memos to her team, and journal entries from the launch years. She also outlines the 10 bold principles that form the backbone of her message. Step 3. Mind map your book. You've collected a pile of ideas, stories, examples, and existing content. Now it's time to shape that raw material into a rough structure for your book. We're not worried about coming up with a perfect outline or final table of contents at this stage. We're just seeing how all the pieces fit together. Everyone has a different process, so pick the mind mapping tool that suits your brain. If you're visual and tactile, use sticky notes and a blank wall or whiteboard. You can also work directly with markers on a whiteboard or large sheet of paper, but I like the ability sticky notes give you to move them around. If you're digital first, use a tool like Scapple or MindMeister to sketch out your ideas. Tooltip: Scapple. Scapple is a fantastic mind mapping tool, and one of the best that I've found for digitally mimicking the free-form joy of using a marker on a whiteboard. I also love that it's a one-time payment, and your work is saved directly on your computer instead of somewhere in the cloud, which is a nice change of pace. Group your ideas. Start by writing big ideas or chapter themes on large sticky notes, then jot down stories, examples, frameworks, or research on smaller ones. Cluster them around each theme. As you work, try to get a sense of how these major themes flow into each other and arrange your work in a rough order. Sometimes the order will be very clear. If you're writing a book about your proprietary framework, there are probably concrete steps that go in a specific order. It will probably also be clear which concepts need to be explained before getting to the main framework and which should come after. Even if your book isn't centered on a framework, there will likely be a flow, setting the stage, exploring key ideas, offering solutions, guiding the reader into action. Collaboration tip. If you're working with a ghostwriter, they'll handle most of the heavy lifting in this step, freeing you up to offer your input and clarify your idea without getting lost in the weeds. If you're working on your own, build in plenty of space-time through these steps to refine your outline. Pick a target length. Go back to your ROI statement from step 1 and decide how long your book is going to be. If your book is meant to open doors for speaking or consulting, a shorter, high-impact book might be better. If your goal is to establish long-term authority or land a traditional publisher, you'll probably need a more robust manuscript. Here are some rule-of-thumb word counts to consider. A traditionally published business or self-help book tends to weigh in around 60,000, 70,000 words. A self-published book can be any length you choose, but I find 45,000, 60,000 is a solid length to provide focused value without fluff. A lead magnet ebook that you're giving away to potential clients or customers can be short and sweet. Aim for 10,000 to 20,000 words. As a general rule, each chapter will probably be 4,000 to 6,000 words. So if you're planning a 60,000-word book, you'll need 10 to 12 chapters, and an introduction and conclusion, which tend to be a bit shorter in length. The best way to figure this out is to look at similar books. How many chapters do they have? How do they break apart concepts? How many subsections, stories, examples, etc. do they have in each chapter? Balance the structure. The nice thing about mind mapping is that it lets you see at a glance if one section feels overloaded and other feels light. If that's the case, play around with different ways to break apart the material or combine it to create more robust sections. As with the scratching you just did while in Magpie mode, it can be helpful to spend a few separate sessions on this step. This is another reason I prefer sticky notes. Every time I walk by the wall in my office where I'm starting to map out a new book project, it spurs my subconscious to mull it over. We'll refine balance and flow as we continue to outline and draft, of course. But the closer you can get now, the more headache you'll save later. Create a bullet point outline. When you're feeling good about this general map, it's time to turn your mind map into an outline. Jot down the chapters with sub-bullets for different stories, examples, research, etc. Once again, don't worry too much about getting the outline perfect. We're going to stress test it in the next step. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Using sticky notes and a blank wall, Jordan outlines the 5 pillars of the sales signal system as core chapters. Supporting chapters include mindset shifts for sales leaders, common mistakes teams make, and tools to help with implementation. They group anecdotes and frameworks under each theme and realize they have more than enough material for a 40,000-word book. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Using Scapple, Nia organizes her chapters around the 10 bold principles, each one illustrated by a pivotal moment in her entrepreneurial journey: launching a controversial campaign, breaking with a partner who didn't get the mission, surviving burnout, and eventually selling her company on her own terms. She groups her stories, quotes, and lessons accordingly, with a strong emotional and motivational arc. Step 4. Spot the gaps and fill them. Now that you've mapped out a rough structure for your book, you should be able to see more clearly what's missing. Maybe Chapter 2 is light on stories. Maybe Concept X needs to be more fully explained. Maybe a whole section needs more research or outside input. In this step, we'll identify those weak spots and fill them in. Believe me, it's way easier to make huge changes to a book's structure before you've drafted it. That's why we're doing so much heavy lifting in the outline stage. Spot the gaps. Take a good look at your bullet point outline. For each chapter or section, ask, do I have enough examples to illustrate this idea? Do the concepts flow in an order that feels natural? Are there questions my audience might still have? This is a great time to get input from your ideal audience. Share your outline with a few trusted people who understand your work or fit your target reader profile. Ask them, what else would you want to know about this topic? Is there anything you expected to see that's missing? If you saw this book on a shelf, what would you hope to get out of it? Do these chapters seem like they'd deliver that? You can also use AI tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity for this step. Paste in your outline and use this prompt. Here's the working outline for my business book. It's for target audience, and the goal is to help them transformation. From a reader's perspective, what gaps or missing pieces do you notice? You can also prompt AI to ask devil's advocate questions or simulate a skeptical reader. This can be a great way to help you find blind spots. Research and story gathering. Once you've identified gaps, you can start collecting what you need to fill them in. That might include interviewing clients to get relevant stories, asking permission to share existing anecdotes, reading other books or studies to reference or build on, digging up frameworks or templates you've shared informally. If you need case studies, now is the time to reach out to past clients. One of my clients sent a short survey to her list asking for stories and testimonials, then organized the results into a spreadsheet she could pull from while drafting. Another scheduled a series of 45-minute interviews, then sent me the Zoom recordings to pick through for quotes and stories. If you're short on research or supporting data, start building a library of relevant links and citations now. It'll save time later when you're writing and don't want to break your flow. Collaboration tip. A good ghostwriter is necessarily a good interviewer. Many will be happy to include client interviews and other research in the book creation process. Even if you're not working with a ghostwriter, you might consider hiring a freelance research assistant or work with someone on your team to collect interviews and other references, tools that make this easier. I recommend using a transcription tool to record and transcribe interviews with clients or subject matter experts. Otter.ai is my favorite. I've been using it for years, and it has saved me hundreds of hours. Otter even summarizes key points automatically, though I find it's helpful to move transcripts into your writing software of choice and mark up key quotes and insights manually while the conversation is still fresh in your mind. I use Scrivener for this. See below. Tooltip: Scrivener. Scrivener is a word processor that was designed with writing books in mind. In Scrivener, I create a folder for each chapter and drop relevant interviews, research, and notes inside. I also use the comment feature to tag key themes in interviews and research, making it super easy to find during drafting. We're almost ready to start writing. But before we do, there's one more step that will make the writing itself so much easier. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. After reviewing their outline, Jordan realizes the chapter on lead qualification lacks client stories. They reach out to a few former SDRs and AEs for permission to share specific deals, and they jot down notes for interviews. Jordan also feeds their outline into ChatGPT to check for missing pieces, and receives helpful feedback about elaborating on objection handling in high-stakes enterprise sales. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. After creating her outline, Nia realizes she's light on stories from her early years, specifically the time before she found success. She interviews her college roommate and a former coworker from her retail days to fill in those foundational moments. She also hires a research assistant to dig into the history of representation in the beauty industry to back up her broader cultural critique. Step 5. Create a narrative outline. Now it's time to turn your rough outline into a strategic tool that will guide your drafting process and ensure your book delivers real value to your readers. Most people treat outlines as a quick bullet list of what they'll write in each chapter. That's fine as a starting point. But to write a truly impactful business book, you need to go deeper. This is where I recommend creating 2 versions of your outline. A bullet point outline to organize and structure your content, which we did in Step 3. A narrative outline that explores the flow of each chapter. Why both? Isn't this overkill? The bullet version gives you clarity and flow, but the narrative version forces you to think like a guide. It helps you step into the reader's shoes and ask, what do they need right now? What will keep them turning the page? This is where you can really make sure your book is providing maximum impact. Collaboration tip. If you've hired a ghostwriter to help you with a traditional book proposal, they'll handle this part and pass the draft to you for feedback. If you're working with a book coach, you'll write this part and pass it to them for feedback. If you're planning to submit your book proposal to a traditional publisher, you'll need this as part of the package. But even if you're planning to self-publish, don't skip this step. Like I said before, it's so much easier to make big structural changes before you've written the entire draft. Think of the narrative outline as a final systems check before you launch yourself into the weeds of writing the first draft. Write the narrative outline. Take your stress-tested bullet point outline and go chapter by chapter, writing a few paragraphs describing what the chapter is about, what it will do for the reader, and how it fits into the overall arc of the book. Use language like a guide leading someone through a journey. For example, in Chapter 2, I'll walk the reader through the biggest mindset blocks that stop entrepreneurs from launching their SaaS startup. I'll use client stories, including specific examples, to normalize those fears and offer a 3-step reframe that will give them confidence. I'll also explain the framework name, a valuable tool the reader can use to shift their mindset. This chapter will set the emotional foundation for everything that follows. Write the marketing copy. Once you're done with the narrative outline, write a draft of your book's marketing copy. This is the copy that will eventually go on the back of the book and the product page. Tooltip: Marketing Copy Template. Check out the marketing copy template at the end of this section for a speedy way to home in on your message. You'll refine this later, but the act of writing a short, persuasive pitch for your book is a great way to clarify your idea. Take a look at similar books to the one you're writing for inspiration, and ask yourself, if someone read this copy, would they know what the book promises and want to read it right now? Remember, your marketing copy isn't just a summary of the book. It's often the first and only thing a potential reader will see before deciding whether to buy. Great marketing copy doesn't just describe the book, it hooks the reader by focusing on what's in it for them. Start with a strong opening sentence that highlights the transformation or value the reader will get, and include the problem your reader is facing, the promise of what they'll learn or achieve, what makes you credible to share it, a short call to action or compelling final line. Why are we writing this before we write the book? For the same reason, we plug in a destination before we start driving cross-country. When you know where you're going, it's a whole lot easier to get there without too many unnecessary detours. Keep your marketing copy in front of you as you write. This is your target. This is your destination. This is the promise you're delivering to readers. Once you have your narrative outline and marketing copy written, this book should be feeling a lot more solid in your mind. It's time to start writing. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan writes a narrative outline that helps them step into their reader's shoes, seeing how the book would unfold as a journey, not just a knowledge dump. In writing their draft, back cover copy, Jordan realizes their book isn't just about B2B sales tactics. It's actually about helping sales leaders feel confident in their decision-making, align their team around shared values, and close big deals with integrity. That shift clarifies the tone, structure, and impact of every chapter. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Nia writes a narrative outline of each chapter in speaker mode, imagining how she'd tell each story on stage. Each chapter begins with a bold, disruptive moment and ends with a takeaway for readers. This outline doubles as the pitch she shares with her publisher and publicist to help shape future speaking gigs and media talking points. Tool: Marketing Copy Template. Use this as a starting point to craft compelling marketing copy for your book. Aim for 150 to 200 words. Big idea, 1 to 2 sentences. Your big idea is the one point you're trying to make in this book. This won't go in the final copy, but every piece of this marketing copy should be in service to that big idea. Example 1. Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Getting more leads isn't actually your problem. If you want to close more deals, you need a smarter system that filters for fit, fast. Example 2. Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. You don't have to fit into their mold to succeed. In fact, success comes when you stop trying to fit in and start being bold. Your big idea. Hook 1-2 sentences. Start with a bold statement, a key pain point, or a surprising truth that grabs your reader's attention, which means it needs to be novel, rewarding, personally relevant, emotionally engaging. Example 1. You don't need a bigger pipeline, you need a smarter one. Example 2. Stop playing nice and start playing real. Your hook. Problem in 2-3 sentences. Briefly describe the struggle your reader is facing. Show them you understand where they're stuck or what they want. Example 1. If you're a sales leader, drowning in demos that never close, you're not alone. Most teams waste time chasing the wrong prospects, and it's costing you big deals and bigger morale. Example 2. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own field, Unfiltered is your permission slip to stop waiting for a seat at the table and build your own damn stage. Your audience's problem. Promise 2-4 sentences. Introduce your solution. What will the reader learn, understand, or be able to do after reading the book? Example 1. In the sales signal system, former SaaS VP Jordan Blake reveals a practical 5-part framework for qualifying, connecting, and closing high-value deals without bloated pipelines or burnout. Example 2. The beauty industry told Bold Nation beauty founder Nia Harper she was too loud, too bold, too different. So she built a multi-million-dollar brand by breaking every rule they gave her and helping others do the same. In this raw, inspiring guide, Harper shares 10 principles that helped her scale a disruptive beauty brand, walk away on her own terms, and rise as a new voice in leadership and empowerment. Your promise to your audience. Authority 1-2 sentences. Position yourself as the trustworthy guide. Mention relevant credentials, experience, or results. Example 1. Jordan's system has helped teams at over 40 companies streamline their sales cycles and grow revenue by double digits. Example 2. From going viral for the wrong reasons to calling out investor bias in real time, Nia's stories will challenge you to rethink everything you've been told about success. Your authority. Call to action, vision, 1 sentence. End with a motivating line that invites the reader to open the book. Example 1. If you're ready to lead with clarity and close with confidence, this book is your blueprint. Example 2. You don't need to play nice, you need to play real. Unfiltered will show you how. Your CTA. Step 6. Talk it out, the 0 draft. It's time to dive into writing, isn't it? Hold on, one more thing. Before you open a blank document and start typing, I want to introduce an optional but incredibly powerful step. Talk your book out. This step is huge. It will seriously cut your time in taking your book from idea to finished draft in half. It's also the step that almost everyone skips. Talking through your book, either by yourself, with a partner, or with a microphone, gets you to the finish line faster because it creates a 0 draft that bypasses the dreaded blank page stage where you're staring at the screen trying to figure out what to write. It also shorts out perfectionism and helps you clarify your thinking and unlock deeper insights than you might get from typing alone. I use this technique with every client I ghostwrite for. I use it when I'm writing my own nonfiction books, and I use it when writing my sci-fi and thriller novels. It works for seasoned speakers, first-time authors, and everyone in between. Why? Talking is faster than writing. It's more natural. It helps you find your voice and make complex ideas more conversational and human. In fact, I've been hired by authors who are accomplished writers, but who simply prefer speaking as a way to get their message across. Whether in a podcast, on stage, on YouTube, or with consulting clients, they'd rather talk it out and leave the drafting to someone else. Still skeptical? Just give this step a shot with the first chapter and see what you think. If it's not for you, you can always move on. 3 ways to talk through your book. 1. Dictate. Print your outline, go for a walk, and speak into your phone. Or go sit in a park somewhere and record. We have a lovely rose garden near my house in Portland, Oregon, and I've spent many a lovely morning wandering through the roses dictating books. You could also sit down with a mic at your desk, but I find freeing yourself from your screen helps break the perfectionist cycle and lets you write faster without distraction. Don't worry about flow or polish right now. Just talk your way through your ideas. Let it be messy. You're going to clean it up later. Tooltip: transcription tools. I use Just Press Record on my iPhone to record audio files. For best quality, I find using either the built-in mic or a plug-in mic works best. Bluetooth headphones are slightly inferior, but work a lot better than they did in the past. Once I get home, I use storyspeak.ai to transcribe the files. It's a brilliant tool developed by a friend of mine who turned to dictation to combat carpal tunnel when writing his techno thrillers. 2. Record a conversation. Instead of going solo, sit down with a friend, business partner, or coach. Ask them to play the role of your ideal reader and ask questions about each chapter, especially from a beginner's perspective. This helps combat expert blind spots, where you assume something is obvious when it actually needs more explanation. A curious, engaged listener will also pull out clarity, nuance, and stories you may not realize are valuable. One of my clients, a husband and wife team, did this beautifully. They set up a Zoom call with just the two of them, hit record, and talked through each chapter, asking each other questions, pushing back, and sharing stories. They then sent me the recordings, which I used to write the first draft of their book. Collaboration tip. I always use an interview process I use with my clients, leading them through the outline of each chapter, asking questions and digging for stories. But you can absolutely do this on your own with a trusted friend. Tooltip: Otter AI. Otter.ai is amazing for transcribing interviews and conversations because it automatically identifies different speakers. You can also train it to automatically tag the voices of people. I will often have it running during an interview, so it transcribes as we talk. That way I can skim back up through the transcript in real time if I have any questions about what was just said. 3. Use AI to prompt you. If you don't have a live conversation partner, use a tool like ChatGPT to simulate one. Paste in your outline and ask it to generate interview-style questions, both basic and devil's advocate, to help you think deeper. Prompt example. Here's my chapter outline. Pretend you're a curious reader new to this topic. What questions would you ask me to better understand the content? You can then record your answers, transcribe them, and use them as a starting point for your draft, if talking isn't your thing. Some of you still are skeptical about this whole dictation interview thing. That's fine. If this step doesn't feel right for you, try another approach that serves the same purpose, getting you away from the blank page and the distractions of perfectionism and the internet. Journal longhand through each chapter. Use a distraction-free writing device to force yourself forward without editing. Shut off all distractions, set a timer, and force yourself to write for 25 minutes per section without going back to edit. The key is to find a method that keeps you out of perfectionism and in motion. Note, you can absolutely cycle through steps 6 and 7, dictating 0 drafts of individual chapters, then writing them, then dictating the next 0 draft, and so on. That's how I tend to work. But you might also prefer to dictate an entire 0 draft and then go back to write the whole thing. You do you. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan prints their outline and goes for long walks, dictating chapter content into Otter AI. They pretend they're explaining their system to a skeptical sales VP. Jordan also does a mock interview with a friend who asks questions about each section, helping uncover great real-world stories that hadn't made it into the outline yet. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Nia uses her phone to record herself telling each chapter's story out loud as if on stage. She paces her living room, channeling the energy she wants to bring to her keynotes. She uploads the recordings to otter.ai for transcription, using those messy transcripts as the bones of her chapters. Her best friend acts as a devil's advocate listener, asking hard questions to help deepen the message. Step 7. Write with focus. Collaboration tip. If you're working with a ghostwriter, here's where you finally get to sit back and relax. And if anyone gives you grief, you now know how much work an author still has to do even if they're working with a collaborator. If you're working with a book coach, here's where they sit back and relax, and you get to work. Every ghostwriter and book coach has their own process. Some, like me, prefer to deliver/review each chapter draft as it's written so that you can get feedback and refine the writing as the book progresses. Some prefer to write the whole book and submit the draft as a whole. You've done the prep work. You've clarified your book's purpose, mapped out your ideas, and talked your way through a 0 draft. Now it's time to do the thing most people never finish. Write the damn book. This is the point where people lose steam. The excitement of brainstorming has worn off, and the resistance creeps in. Now it's you and the page, which can be daunting, especially at a book-length scale. The good news is that if you did step 6, you're not starting from a blank page. You've got a 0 draft to work from, which is honestly half the battle. Let's talk about fighting our way through the other half. Set realistic goals. The fastest way to kill momentum is to set yourself an unrealistic target. Don't commit to writing 10,000 words in a weekend. That's not sustainable, and it's not necessary. Instead, start with a practical pace. One chapter per week is a great goal for most busy professionals. A typical nonfiction book chapter is around 3,000 to 5,000 words, which you can probably knock out in 2-3 focused writing sessions per week. At that pace, you can have a solid draft of a 10-chapter book in 2 to 3 months. That's fast, and totally doable if you protect your time and stay consistent. That said, take whatever time estimate you've made and double it, even if you've written a book before. Unless you absolutely need to destroy yourself meeting a tight deadline, give yourself the breathing room to create something incredible. Use the tools that work for you. I already talked about how much I love Scrivener, but I'm going to say it again. I strongly recommend using a tool like Scrivener to organize your draft. Scrivener lets you view your chapters as separate chunks, keep your outline and notes visible while writing, color code progress. I use red for zero draft, orange for first draft, yellow for polished draft, and green for done. It also makes rearranging sections and chapters so simple because you can just drag and drop sections without having to cut and paste all over the place. You can also use Google Docs or Word if you're more proficient there. Just be sure to include headings so you can navigate easily within the document. Tooltip: Text Expander. Text Expander speeds up your writing process by allowing you to create shortcuts for words, phrases, and even entire paragraphs that you use regularly. For example, instead of typing business to business 1,000 times in your manuscript, you can type ;B2B and it will expand out. I also use Text Expander to store book blurb copy, author bios, and other pieces of copy I need regularly. And, my favorite, I set up a folder for repair words that catches my most frequent misspellings. For example, when I'm typing fast, I'll often type things like serrate instead of create and te instead of the. Text Expander automatically fixes those for me so I can keep going without backtracking. Break it down further. If the idea of writing a full chapter still feels overwhelming, divide it into smaller milestones: introduction, individual sections, conclusion, etc. Sometimes I find it helpful to think of each chapter as a series of connected 500-800 word blog posts. I may not have time to draft a whole chapter, but I can totally carve out an hour to draft a 500-word blog post. Track your progress. Writing a book is long-haul work, and visual feedback can help you stay motivated. Some ideas. Use a spreadsheet or Notion dashboard to track word count. Mark chapters as started, in progress, and done. Print your outline and cross chapters off with a Sharpie. Build up a writing streak by giving yourself a gold star on a calendar for each day you write. And don't forget to celebrate those milestones. For an excellent book on project management for creative folks, check out Start Finishing by Charlie Gilkey. Stay focused. The number one tip here is also the one that's hardest in this day and age. When you're writing, stay focused on writing. There are a ton of incredible books out there to help you find your focus and banish distraction. I've read most of them, a procrastination tactic perhaps, and I'm a fan of Deep Work by Cal Newport, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, and Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Tooltip: focus tools. I'm also a fan of tools that keep you on task, like Freedom, which allows you to strategically block the internet and/or specific sites. Stay Focused, a browser plugin that does something similar. Newsfeed Eradicator, a browser plugin that blocks social media news feeds. And Forest, a phone app timer that incentivizes you to turn off your phone for a certain amount of time. You can also get away from your distracting computer entirely with a distraction-free writing device. I've loved my AlphaSmart Neo for years and have friends who swear by their free writes. Remember, perfect is the enemy of done. You don't need a perfect draft at this stage. That's what the next steps, revision and editing, are for. Right now, you just need a complete draft. Let's be honest, writing can be incredibly frustrating, even if you're a professional communicator, even if you've been sitting on this material for years. Even if you're a professional ghostwriter and novelist with dozens of books under your belt. There will be days when it flows, and there will be days when it doesn't. That's normal. At this stage, your job is simple. Show up consistently and keep moving forward. Each day you sit down brings you one day closer to the finish line. And remember, the fact that you're even doing this puts you ahead of 99% of the people who say they want to write a book. See it in action. Example 1. Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan sets a goal of 1 chapter per week and uses Scrivener to draft each section. They color code chapters based on progress and use a Notion dashboard to track word counts. Some chapters come together easily using dictation transcripts. Others take more rewriting. Still, they stay on pace and complete the draft in 2 months. Example 2. Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. With a deadline from her publisher looming, Nia sets up writing retreats on weekends and uses the Pomodoro method for weekday sprints. She works on a free write to keep distractions at bay, then transfers each chapter to a Google Doc where her book coach can review it and offer feedback. Her speaking voice shines through thanks to her talk-it-out approach, and her transcripts help her avoid blank page paralysis. Step 8. Get distance and feedback. Congratulations, you've completed a full draft of your book. That's massive. Most people never make it this far. You deserve a victory lap, but we've still got work to do. Now it's time to take a step back and get some distance so you can approach revision with clarity, objectivity, and fresh eyes. When you've been immersed in your book for weeks or months, it's almost impossible to see it clearly. You're too close to the material. You know what you meant to say, so your brain fills in the gaps, even if your reader can't. That's why taking a short break is so valuable. Give yourself a week or two off from the manuscript. Work on other projects. Go for walks. Read books in a completely different genre. Let your brain breathe. It's one of the most efficient ways to improve your writing, and it costs you nothing but time. Now, while you and your manuscript are taking a little break from one another, it's time to get some outside perspective. Bring in beta readers, optional. Beta readers are trusted people who can give you honest, useful feedback before you head into revisions. They are generally unpaid, though you might offer an incentive, like a free coaching session or coupon to your online store. Choose 3 to 5 readers who reflect your target audience. These could be colleagues, clients, peers, or friends who understand your industry or the problem your book solves. You can also swap manuscripts with a fellow author or accountability partner, especially if you've been writing your books alongside each other. Give them clear instructions. Tell them what kind of feedback you're looking for: clarity, flow, gaps in logic, confusing sections, or anything that feels repetitive. Tooltip: Beta Reader Instruction Template. I use a Google form to collect responses, though you can also ask people to leave comments in a separate Word or Google Doc if you prefer. Check out the Beta Reader Instruction Template at the end of this chapter for the template I use to get feedback from beta readers. Either share the full draft, or just send them the key chapters that could benefit from their particular expertise. Get expert input, optional. If your budget allows, this is also a great time to bring in a developmental editor or book coach. These professionals are trained in shaping a book's structure, argument, and flow. A developmental editor or book coach might help you. Tighten your core message. Reorganize chapters for better momentum. Deepen your storytelling. Clarify or cut down confusing sections. Collaboration tip. When hiring a developmental editor or book coach, be sure to look for someone with expertise in the type of book you're writing. Ask colleagues for recommendations, or look at the acknowledgement sections of recent books similar to yours to see if they name a book coach or developmental editor who helped them out. Understanding feedback. Once you've collected the feedback, look for patterns. You'll have some outliers, but you'll also find people have similar reactions. If one person has a problem, it might just be them. If 2 or 3 people stumble on the same thing, pay attention. Getting feedback on your draft can feel vulnerable. You've poured time, energy, and heart into this project, and it's tempting to brace for criticism. But try to approach feedback with curiosity, not defensiveness. Your readers want you to succeed. They're pointing out weaknesses not to discourage you, but to help you create the best possible book. What comes next? Once you've gathered and processed your feedback, you'll be ready to roll up your sleeves and start revising. This is where your book becomes sharper, more powerful, and more effective. In the next step, we'll polish your draft until it shines. See it in action. Example 1, Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan sends their manuscript to 3 beta readers: a sales enablement manager, a VP of sales at a SaaS company, and a former colleague now in consulting. They ask for feedback on clarity, structure, and missing content. After letting the manuscript sit for 2 weeks while the beta readers go through it, Jordan returns to look at the feedback. Based on responses, Jordan adds a chapter on using CRM data to trigger deal closing signals. Example 2, Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. After finishing in her first draft, Nia takes a few weeks off and then reviews the manuscript with fresh eyes. She then sends key chapters to her book coach and a few trusted mentors, including a DEI consultant, a Gen Z beauty influencer, and a professional speaker, for feedback on tone, inclusivity, and audience resonance. Tool, Beta Reader Instruction Template. Subject line, thank you for reading my book draft. Here's what I need from you. Hi, first name. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a beta reader for my book, working title. I truly appreciate your time, attention, and honest feedback. Your perspective will help me make this book stronger, clearer, and more useful to the readers I want to serve. This is an early draft, so I'm not looking for copy editing or proofreading, unless something jumps out at you. Instead, I'd love your help spotting what's working, what's confusing or unclear, what's missing, what could be even better. Below, you'll find a list of guiding questions. You don't need to answer every single one, just respond to the ones that stand out to you. Feel free to leave comments in the margins of the document, if using Google Docs or Word, or fill out the Google form, if using that, or reply with your overall impressions in an email. If possible, I'd love to get your feedback by insert date, usually 1-2 weeks out. Let me know if that timeline doesn't work for you. Thanks again, I'm incredibly grateful for your support. With appreciation, your name. Beta reader feedback questions. You can copy-paste this into a Google form, a Word doc, or simply ask readers to respond via email. 1. Overall impressions. What's your general reaction to the book? Who do you think this book is for? Would you recommend this book to someone else? Why or why not? 2. Clarity and flow. Were there any parts that confused you or felt unclear? Did any sections feel repetitive or unnecessary? Was the overall structure easy to follow? Were there any concepts you were surprised I didn't cover? 3. Engagement. Did the tone feel friendly, professional, relatable? Were there any parts where your attention started to drift? Did you find the stories or examples compelling? 4. Value and takeaways. Did the book deliver on its promise? What was the most useful or memorable idea? Is there anything you wish the book had included? 5. Specific feedback. Were there any quotes, ideas, or passages you loved? Any areas where you'd like to see more detail, examples, or explanation? Any ideas that felt rushed or underdeveloped? Step 9. Revise and polish. Revision is where the real magic happens. Some people dread revision, but I love it because this is where you take something good and make it great. The first draft of your book is just raw material, the block of marble. But in revision, you get to shape that block into something powerful, purposeful, and polished. This is the stage where your ideas become sharper, your stories become more vivid, and your reader's journey becomes smoother and more impactful. We're taking your book from a perfectly fine jumble of ideas into a finely tuned vehicle that will take your readers on a valuable journey. What's not to love? Revision. Let's get clear, revision is not the same as editing. During revision, we're not so worried about fixing typos, tightening commas, or checking for grammar issues. That comes later. Revision is about strengthening your core ideas, clarifying the message of each chapter, cutting what doesn't serve the reader, reorganizing for better flow, adding depth, specificity, and impact, adding stories or clarifying key points, double-checking facts and frameworks. In other words, revision is structural, it's big picture. Collaboration tip. Even if you're working with a ghostwriter, this is a stage where your voice and input are essential. Your ghostwriter can shape and refine the manuscript, but only you can ensure the book is aligned with your experiences, values, and brand. Start with a read-through. Begin by reading your manuscript all the way through without making edits. Take notes as you go and/or leave comments in the document, but resist the urge to start fixing line by line. You want to get a sense of what works and what doesn't, where you lose momentum, where ideas feel underdeveloped, what stories, examples, or transitions might be missing. Print it out if that helps you see it differently, or load it onto an e-reader so you experience it like your audience will. Organize the feedback you collected. Go back to the notes from your beta readers or editor. Look for patterns. If 3 people were confused by the same section, that's a signal. If your ideal reader told you they loved a particular story, maybe you can build on it or move it earlier in the book. Start collecting feedback in a list, along with your own read-through notes, a spreadsheet, a checklist, a sheet of notebook paper, wherever. I recommend organizing your list from the biggest problems to the smallest and tackling them in that order. You want to work through the big picture edits first. There's no point in spending your energy polishing up a story in Chapter 7, only to realize you need to cut Chapter 7 entirely in order to make your argument flow better. Self-editing. Once your structure is solid, turn your attention to the polishing and editing. Look at voice. Does the writing sound like you? If not, tweak the tone to be more conversational, confident, warm, or direct, whatever fits your brand and your reader. Clarity. Are you using plain, powerful language? Watch out for jargon or overly abstract phrasing. Break down complex ideas into relatable concepts. Momentum. Are you holding the reader's attention? Trim unnecessary intros, tighten transitions, and end each chapter with a strong takeaway or forward pull. In early drafts, your book was a collection of ideas. In revision, it becomes a cohesive, compelling experience. This is where readers start saying things like, "I couldn't put it down," or "This changed how I think about my business." Don't rush this stage. Give it time and give it love. You're polishing a diamond, and that takes effort. Tool tip: editing tools. Once you're happy with your revised structure and content, you can run your manuscript through a grammar tool like ProWriting Aid offers deeper style and structure suggestions. Grammarly, great for catching mechanical errors and basic clarity issues. Just remember, these tools are helpful, but they're not a substitute for your judgment. Hiring an editor. Once you've taken your manuscript as far as it can go, it's time to give it to your editor. If you're self-publishing, hire a professional copy editor. If you've got a traditional book deal, your publisher will assign you an editor. Even if you've used one of the tools above to polish your manuscript, a human editor needs to make the final pass. I cannot stress this enough. You've put the energy into writing a book that matters. Don't skip the final shine. So, what kind of editor are you looking for? Earlier, I mentioned developmental editors and book coaches. They're fabulous at helping shape your idea into a book and revise your manuscript. This is me. This is my jam. For this final polish, you're looking for a line editor or copy editor. This is the person that's going to catch your comma errors. Make sure things are capitalized according to the proper style guides, and make sure you're using affect and effect correctly. This is not my jam. As with hiring any professional book collaborator, make sure you find someone with expertise in your particular book genre. Collaboration tip. You need a copy editor, even if you've hired a ghostwriter. Both you and your ghostwriter are too close to the manuscript at this point. No matter how detail-oriented they are, they're bound to miss typos and inconsistencies. Readsy.com is a great marketplace to find reputable folks. Okay, we're almost there. See it in action. Example 1. Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan reads the entire manuscript in e-reader mode, marking areas that feel bloated or confusing. They revise for stronger transitions, clearer examples, and tighter explanations. Then, they run the manuscript through Grammarly and ProWriting Aid. They work with a freelance editor to finalize the tone and clean up language while keeping the voice authentically theirs. Example 2. Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. With her editor's developmental feedback in hand, Nia tightens the through line of the book, refines her call to action, and adds more texture to her personal stories. She also polishes her bold principles so they can be repurposed into slides and stage content. Her writing assistant runs the draft through Grammarly to clean up language before submitting it to the publisher for edits. Step 10. Publish and launch. Collaboration tip. If you're working with a ghostwriter, this is the step where they'll probably peace out. Some may also offer marketing and publicity services or work in an agency that does, but most, like myself, are masters of one thing: writing a damn good book. Fortunately, there are plenty of reputable folks out there who are masters at publishing and publicity. They'll be happy to guide you through this part of the process. You've clarified your message, gathered your knowledge, written and revised your book. Now comes the part that makes it all real. Getting your book into the world. Whether you're self-publishing, working with a traditional publisher, or crowdfunding your launch, it's time to turn your manuscript into a finished product and ensure it reaches the audience you wrote it for. This is where your book starts doing its job. If you followed this process from the beginning, you're not arriving at publishing unprepared. You've already made key decisions about your book's purpose, your reader, and your ROI. Those early choices now guide your publishing and launch strategy. As I said in the note above, while I have published books, I am by no means a publishing expert. So we're going to keep this high level and point you to more resources. Let's start by breaking this into 2 questions. 1. How will you publish this book? There are 3 primary publishing paths, and each has its own strengths. Self-publishing. Best for entrepreneurs, consultants, speakers, and thought leaders who want speed, control, and a higher ROI. Pros, fast timeline, full creative control, higher royalty rates, perfect for leveraging in your business. Considerations. You'll need to manage or outsource editing, design, formatting, and distribution, but there are excellent pros who can help with each step. Traditional publishing. Best for authors seeking bookstore distribution, prestige, or larger media opportunities. Pros, professional editing, design, and distribution handled by the publisher, industry credibility. Considerations. Slow timelines, often 1 to 2 years, requires a proposal and often a literary agent, smaller royalties, less control. Hybrid or partner publishing best for authors who want professional support without giving up control or royalties. Pros. You pay upfront for services, professionals manage the publication process, you keep your rights and higher profits. Considerations. Vet hybrid publishers carefully. Some are excellent, some are overpriced, low quality, or downright predatory. If your book's ROI is tied to business outcomes, leads, clients, speaking gigs, self-publishing or hybrid publishing will likely serve you best. You don't need to wait for permission. You can launch on your timeline and design the experience to meet your business goals. However, it definitely helps to know your audience here. Are you going after big corporate customers who want to see a familiar publisher's name on the spine of your book? Or are you going after entrepreneurial types who will be more impressed by the fact you launched your book on Kickstarter? Either is fine, but if you want to give your book the best opportunity to succeed in the world, it's important to understand exactly what you're trying to do with it and what your audience expects. 2. How will you promote your book on launch day and beyond? Don't just publish and pray. If you want your book to work, to bring in leads, build trust, and grow your impact, you need a launch strategy. But you also need a long-term strategy. Your book is a business tool. How are you going to keep sharing key lessons, client results, and quotes from your book well after it's live? How will you use it as a calling card, a gift, a lead qualifier, or an onboarding tool? This book was never meant to be a private masterpiece. It's a bridge between you and your audience. It's a tool to grow your reach and share your message. So take a deep breath, hit publish, and let the book do the work you designed it to do. And congratulations! See it in action. Example 1. Jordan Blake's B2B sales formula. Jordan decides to self-publish to maintain control and speed. They hire a designer for the cover and layout and list the book on Amazon with print on demand. Their launch plan includes previews on LinkedIn and their email list, a free chapter as a lead magnet to grow newsletter subscribers, a workshop offer bundled with bulk book sales. They also use the book as a leave behind for speaking gigs and proposals, and it becomes a core asset in their new consulting business. Example 2. Nia Harper's Bold Beauty Manifesto. Nia works with her publisher's PR team to line up podcast interviews, conference panels, and media features in beauty and entrepreneurship outlets. She designs a personal brand website that features her book and keynote topics. At launch, she offers free access to a companion mini-course and builds an email list from book buyers. Her book becomes the anchor for her speaking career, landing her TEDx inquiries, corporate bookings, and a feature in Forbes Women. The world is ready for your story. Writing a book isn't easy, but it doesn't have to be impossible. Whether you're working on your own or with a coach, developmental editor, or ghostwriter, these 10 steps will take you through from your initial idea to a polished draft with as little fuss as possible. Good luck. And if you want to chat, head to storyrebel.com to schedule a free consultation about your project. Tools I love and use personally. Throughout this book, I've mentioned some of my favorite tools to help you plan, write, and launch your authority book. Some of the links are affiliate links, which means if you decide to try one out, I may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. I only recommend tools I truly believe in or use myself. Here's a curated list of what I recommend organized by chapter. Step 1. Clarify your book's ROI. Notion, the perfect tool for organizing your book ROI worksheet, outlining goals, and building your personal book dashboard. Publisher Rocket. Step 2. Collect everything you know. Evernote, classic note-taking app for capturing stray thoughts, organizing clippings, and syncing across all your devices. Descript, record and automatically transcribe your voice memos or idea dumps, and even edit the transcript like a doc. Otter.ai, my go-to for fast, AI-powered transcription, especially after a good brainstorming walk. Rev.com, a reliable option when you want human-level transcription accuracy, great for interviews or nuanced content. Step 3. Organize and map. Milanote, a visual workspace for mapping ideas like a mood board. Perfect if you're a right-brain thinker. Scapple, a free-form mind-mapping tool by the creators of Scrivener, great for laying out non-linear book structures. Trello or ClickUp, drag-and-drop project boards that help you track ideas, stories, and chapters with ease. Airtable, supercharged spreadsheets meets database for advanced tagging, categorizing, and organizing research or content. Step 4. Spot the gaps. ChatGPT Plus, use it to review your outline, simulate reader questions, or generate prompts from your topic. Perplexity.ai, a smart AI research assistant for finding citations, summaries, and trends in your space. Ubersuggest, affordable SEO tool for identifying keywords, content gaps, and blog ideas to align with your book topic. BuzzSumo, discover which content is performing best in your niche and what's missing from the conversation. Step 5. Outline strategically. Plotter, visual outlining software originally built for fiction, but works great for chapter planning and structure. Scrivener, still my favorite tool for writing long-form content. Organize scenes, sections, and research all in one place. Notion, create a custom outline or template workspace to track everything from chapter blurbs to asset checklists. Step 6, talk it out. Just press record, a simple iOS app that lets you dictate ideas on the go and syncs to iCloud. AlphaSmart Neo 2, the cult favorite, distraction-free word processor. Great for low-pressure drafting. Hemmingwrite, FreeWrite, sleek, minimalist writing machines for serious focus. No apps, no browser, no excuses. Remarkable 2, a writing tablet that feels like paper and converts handwritten notes into editable text. Step 7, write with focus. Scrivener, still relevant here. Color code chapters, track word count, and revise without losing your structure. OmWriter or IA Writer, minimalist writing spaces designed for deep work and fewer distractions. Focus at Will, Brain.fm, or Endel, music and soundscapes scientifically designed to help you concentrate and get into the zone. Text Expander, program fast shortcodes to speed up things you commonly type. Step 8, get distance and feedback. Google Workspace, great for sharing docs with beta readers and tracking comments during early feedback rounds. Zoom Pro, host feedback calls or interviews with clients and early readers, record them for later reference. Loom, leave feedback on a doc or request feedback via quick videos, ideal if you're working with a ghostwriter or editor. Step 9, revise and polish. Grammarly, catch grammar, tone, and clarity issues instantly. Pro Writing Aid offers deeper style and pacing feedback for nonfiction. Hemingway Editor helps you write with bold clarity, highlighting long sentences, passive voice, and weak phrasing. Readsy Marketplace, find freelance editors, proofreaders, and designers with experience in your genre. Step 10, publish and promote. Vellum, my favorite book formatting tool for beautiful print and ebooks. Mac only, but worth it. Canva Pro, design your own cover, pull quotes, and promotional graphics, even if you're not a designer. Book Funnel, deliver ARCs, build your email list, and manage book giveaways with ease. ConvertKit, a powerful and author-friendly email marketing platform. Lead Pages or Podia, build high-converting book landing pages and sell bonuses or mini-courses. Ingram Spark, KDP Print, for wide distribution or Amazon publishing, depending on your publishing goals.